Quick question. When was the last time a movie actually made you cry? The good kind of tears. The kind where you're smiling while it's happening. Because I went looking for exactly that. 15 films currently sitting on Netflix that will do it to you, guaranteed. And almost nobody is talking about a single one of them. A grumpy old man who has failed at suicide so many times, his neighbors have started interrupting him out of pure annoyance. And somehow, that becomes one of the funniest, most tender films of the last decade. A hard-drinking hairdresser who walks into a stranger's funeral uninvited and decides on the spot that she's going to save a little girl she's never even met. And two men who have nothing in common, forced together for 2 months on the road, who build one of the most purely enjoyable friendships ever put on screen. 15 films, all feel good, all deliver good cry. Ranked. Let's go. Number 15, NONNAS. I need to warn you before this one starts. You are going to want Italian food immediately afterward, and there's no getting around it.
It has to work because it's not just a restaurant, it's more about family, especially for people who may not have family anymore.
Vince Vaughn plays Joe Scaravella, a Staten Island MTA worker grieving the death of his mother, who takes his entire savings and opens an Italian restaurant staffed exclusively by grandmothers. Women who've spent their whole lives cooking for family and never once for a paying customer. Steven Chbosky directed this, based on the real story of Enoteca Maria, and what makes it land is the specificity. Susan Sarandon, Talia Shire, Lorraine Bracco, and Brenda Vaccaro each play a Nonna with her own complete lived-in history. A former nun, a widow rebuilding her sense of purpose. Women who are finally being asked to share the one thing they were always best at. The film treats grief and food as the exact same language. Something passed down instead of spoken. And Vaughn plays Joe's loss with a quiet restraint that's genuinely different from anything he's done before. It hit number 1 on Netflix its opening weekend. Warm, funny, and it will absolutely make you call your grandmother. Number 14, Arthur the King. Some dogs get adopted from shelters. This one got adopted mid-race by a team of strangers in the middle of the Ecuadorian jungle, and he refused to let them leave without him.
We all know anything can happen out there. Sometimes we feel lost. We push and we suffer. We keep going.
Mark Wahlberg plays Michael Light, a driven, once-disgraced adventure racer competing in a brutal multi-day expedition race that combines kayaking, mountain biking, and jungle trekking across hundreds of miles. Partway through, a scarred, battered stray dog starts following the team, drawn in by a scrap of food Michael tosses him without thinking much of it. The dog doesn't leave. Not through the river crossings, not through the injuries, not through anything the race throws at either of them. This is based on the true story of Swedish adventure racer Mikael Linnord, whose real dog Arthur became an international phenomenon after genuinely completing the race alongside his team, and then, against enormous logistical odds, getting brought home with them afterward. Simu Liu and Natalie Emanuel round out the racing team. Predictable in structure, honest in execution, and it earns every tier it's clearly engineered to pull. Number 13, Danny Collins.
Are you on drugs?
Currently or in general?
Currently.
No. Dinner?
You're asking me to dinner?
I think so.
I'm gonna have to decline.
You're not a fan?
Currently or in general?
In general.
No.
But we have good patter.
Imagine finding out 40 years too late that a letter from John Lennon had been sitting unopened the entire time. A letter that might have completely changed the direction of your life if you'd only gotten it when it was actually written. That's the true story loosely underneath this film, and Al Pacino plays Danny Collins, an aging rock star coasting on decades-old hits and increasingly hollow arena tours, who receives that letter and decides, almost on impulse, to blow up the comfortable, empty life he's built. He checks into a hotel, tries to reconnect with the son he's never known, and attempts something he hasn't seriously tried in decades, writing an honest song. Annette Bening plays the hotel manager who sees through his rockstar performance almost immediately, and their scenes together carry a genuine, unforced chemistry that keeps the film from tipping into pure whimsy. Christopher Plummer plays his exasperated manager, with real warmth underneath the exasperation. Funny, unexpectedly tender, and one of Pacino's most purely enjoyable late career roles. Number 12. The fundamentals of caring.
My child has a unique sense of humor.
You know anything?
Could you call the Make-A-Wish Foundation and tell them I want a blowjob from Katy Perry?
Paul Rudd plays Ben, a man processing a devastating personal loss by training to become a caregiver, who gets assigned to Trevor, a sharp-tongued teenager with muscular dystrophy who has zero interest in being handled delicately by anyone. Rob Burnett directed this Netflix original, and what makes it work is the refusal to let Trevor's condition define the tone of the film. This is a road trip comedy first, built on genuine, prickly chemistry between two people who are both quietly furious about circumstances neither of them chose. Ben's own grief is handled with real patience, revealed gradually rather than front-loaded, so that by the time you understand exactly what he's running from, his growing bond with Trevor carries considerably more weight than it did in the film's lighter opening stretch. Selena Gomez joins partway through as a hitchhiker who complicates the trip in the best possible way. Funny, occasionally very dark, and warmer than its blunt humor initially lets on. Number 11. Remarkably Bright Creatures. This one is only a few months old, and I promise you the setup is stranger and more wonderful than anything I could summarize cleanly.
I honestly don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I know the feeling.
There may be potential for mutual repair.
What the hell?
Go ahead. He won't hurt you.
Sally Field plays Tova, a widow working the night shift as a janitor at a small-town aquarium, quietly still grieving a son who disappeared decades earlier and was never found. Lewis Pullman plays Cameron, a drifting young musician passing through town in search of the father he's never known. And connecting them both is Marcellus, a Pacific octopus voiced by Alfred Molina, who is considerably more perceptive than anyone at the aquarium gives him credit for. Olivia Newman directed this adaptation of Shelby Van Pelt's best-selling novel, and what makes the film genuinely moving rather than simply whimsical is how seriously it takes Tova's grief. The octopus isn't a gimmick, he's a witness, quietly piecing together a mystery that will eventually connect Tova and Cameron in a way neither of them saw coming. There is something that's been breaking people on social media since release. Marcellus, at one point, does something for Tova that requires no dialogue at all, and it's reportedly become one of the most rewatched moments of any Netflix film this year. Gentle, quietly wondrous, and one of the most purely original feel-good films to arrive this year. Number 10. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Some people want a dream house. Some people want a dream career. Ada Harris wants one dress, and she is not going to apologize for it.
You should have been receiving a war widow's pension. It comes quite a tidy sum.
Oh, it's my Eddie. It's a sign from my angel. What's he going to do? I'm going to buy a dress. A Christian Dior from Paris.
London cleaning lady falls in love with a Dior gown she sees hanging in a client's closet and decides, with absolutely no practical justification whatsoever, that she is going to save every spare penny and travel to Paris to buy one for herself. Lesley Manville plays Ada Harris with a working-class dignity that never once curdles into cute or twee. This is a woman who has spent her entire life being invisible to the people she cleans for, and the dress becomes, almost accidentally, the first thing she's ever wanted purely and only for herself. When she finally arrives in Paris with her modest savings, the House of Dior treats her with exactly the condescension you'd expect, and the film's real pleasure is watching her win over the people who initially dismissed her, one small act of genuine kindness at a time. Based on Paul Gallico's novel, this is old-fashioned in the best sense. A film with genuine faith in the idea that decency is contagious, executed with a light comic touch that never once talks down to its own sincerity. Utterly charming, and considerably sharper about class than its fairy tale premise lets on. Number 9. The Magic of Belle Isle. Some people go on vacation to relax. This man goes to hide, and the summer has other plans for him entirely.
What's he yelling at?
Life.
Morgan Freeman plays Monty Wildhorn, a once successful novelist, now a bitter alcoholic confined to a wheelchair, who rents a lake house for the summer with no intention of doing anything except drinking through his remaining years in isolation. Rob Reiner directed this, and the disruption comes from his new next-door neighbors, a single mother and her 3 daughters, particularly the youngest, who becomes convinced that Monty's stories of imagination and adventure, meant only to entertain her, might actually help her overcome her own fears. There's no single dramatic turning point forcing Monty's transformation. It happens in small increments, across a whole summer, built entirely on the specific, patient persistence of children who refuse to let a grown man give up on himself. A quiet, unhurried film about rediscovering purpose you genuinely convinced yourself was already gone. Number 8. I Can Only Imagine. This is the true story behind one of the best-selling Christian singles of all time, and the story behind the song is considerably more difficult than the song itself lets on.
What are you running from?
My dad.
Then write about it. Let that pain become your inspiration.
J. Michael Finley plays Bart Millard, lead singer of the band Mercy Me, tracing his journey from a childhood marked by his father's violent temper through years of unresolved anger, all the way to the unexpected reconciliation that eventually inspired the song I Can Only Imagine. The Erwin brothers directed this, and what elevates it past a standard music biopic is its unflinching honesty about Bart's father, played by Dennis Quaid. The film doesn't rush toward forgiveness, it makes you sit with genuine damage first, so that the eventual reconciliation actually means something, rather than arriving as a convenient plot beat. The song itself was reportedly written in around 10 minutes, after years of Bart being unable to write anything meaningful about his father at all. A genuine creative breakthrough born directly from real, hard-won healing. Emotionally raw, unexpectedly powerful, and considerably more complicated than its marketing suggests. Number 7. Hustle. A scout with one last shot at proving himself finds a player nobody else was looking for. The oldest sports movie premise there is, and this version still finds a way to make it feel genuinely alive.
So you're 22 years old, because you can't be in the draft if you're over 22.
Yes, I'm 22 years old.
Who's this?
It's my son.
How old is he?
He's 10 years old.
Okay.
Adam Sandler plays Stanley, a basketball scout for the Philadelphia 76ers, who spent his entire career on the road, missing his family, watching younger men get the promotions he actually earned. But when he stumbles onto Bo Cruz, a raw, unpolished street baller in Spain, played by real-life NBA player Juancho Hernan Gomez, Stanley bets everything. His job, his marriage, his last real shot, on getting this one player noticed. Jeremiah Zagar directed this, produced by LeBron James, and what makes Hustle work is its specificity about the actual mechanics of basketball scouting and development, filmed with genuine NBA cooperation and real players in supporting roles, alongside Sandler's willingness to play real, unglamorous, middle-aged desperation, rather than a movie star fantasy version of it. Genuinely one of the finest sports dramas Netflix has produced, and Sandler's most purely committed dramatic performance in years. Number 6. Ordinary Angels. Sometimes the person who saves a child's life isn't just a doctor. It can also be a stranger.
That voice in your head couldn't be more wrong. You're not just worthy, Sharon. You're a miracle. Go!
Hilary Swank plays Sharon Stevens, a hard-drinking, struggling hairdresser in Louisville, Kentucky, who becomes obsessed with helping a local family she's never met, a widowed father whose infant daughter needs a liver transplant the family cannot possibly afford. John Gunn directed this, based on a real story from the 1990s, and what Sharon does next is genuinely remarkable. She organizes the entire town into a fundraising and awareness campaign so effective, it eventually helps change an actual piece of Kentucky legislation around organ donation. Here's what keeps this from tipping into simple, inspirational movie territory. The film is honest about Sharon's own struggles with alcohol and her complicated relationship with her adult son, refusing to present her as a flawless saint even while she's doing something genuinely selfless for strangers. Alan Ritchson plays the grieving father with real, guarded exhaustion, wary of a stranger's help before he understands how far she's actually willing to go. Based on a genuine, well-documented true story, and considerably more emotionally complicated than the trailer suggested. Number 5. A Man Called Ove. You might have seen the Tom Hanks remake. This is the original, and it's funnier, sharper, and far more heartfelt.
Finns det ingen som kan någonting längre? Tänker nämligen försvinna härifrån, ja. För alltid.
Rolf Lassgård plays Ove, a rigid, furious widower in a Swedish housing complex, planning his own death after losing his wife, whose plans keep getting interrupted by a chaotic, warm new family moving in next door. A family that refuses to leave him alone no matter how hard he tries to push them away. Hannes Holm directed this adaptation of Fredrik Backman's best-selling novel, and structures the film around flashbacks to Ove's earlier life, gradually revealing exactly why he became this specific kind of impossible, rule-obsessed man, and exactly what he lost to get there. Here's what makes this one of the most beloved films of its decade. It never rushes Ove's thaw. Every small act of connection is earned through genuine persistence from his neighbors, and the flashback structure means you understand his grief completely by the time his walls finally start coming down. Lassgård's performance holds real, controlled fury underneath genuine tenderness, often within the same scene. Devastating, very funny, and one of the most purely moving films on this entire list. Number 4. Field of Dreams. An Iowa farmer hears a voice in his cornfield telling him to build a baseball diamond. And instead of getting him committed, the film asks you to trust that voice completely, all the way to an ending that still makes grown adults cry on a couch 35 years later. Kevin Costner plays Ray Kinsella, and what elevates this past a simple sports fantasy is what's actually driving him underneath the baseball. A relationship with his own late father that ended badly, unresolved, the way so many father-son relationships quietly do. James Earl Jones plays a reclusive author swept into Ray's increasingly strange mission, and Burt Lancaster appears in one of his final roles as a doctor who never got his one shot at the majors. "If you build it, he will come" has become one of the most quoted lines in American film, largely detached from the specific grief it's actually about. The final scene remains one of the most quietly devastating father-son reconciliations ever filmed. I won't describe it further than that. Bring your dad, or call him after. Number 3. Little Miss Sunshine. A family that can barely stand to be in the same room together piles into a broken-down VW van for a cross-country drive to a child beauty pageant, and somehow, disaster after disaster becomes an actual family along the way.
Remember when Olive was runner-up in the regional Little Miss Sunshine? That's the girl who won had to forfeit her crown. I don't know why, something about diet pills, but anyway, now she has a place in the state contest in Redondo.
Abigail Breslin plays Olive, the awkward, sweet, aspiring pageant contestant, and the ensemble around her is stacked with a suicidal uncle played by Steve Carell, a foul-mouthed, heroin-snorting grandfather played by Alan Arkin, and a teenage brother who has taken a vow of silence, each one carrying a specific, believable damage that the road trip slowly, chaotically forces them to actually confront together. Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris directed this with a specific, generous comic warmth, every character genuinely broken in their own particular way, and the film never asks you to laugh at them so much as to recognize something true underneath the dysfunction. The final pageant sequence remains one of the most purely joyful, cathartic set pieces in American comedy. A family finally, chaotically, unapologetically united behind the one person who never stopped believing in herself. Funny, strange, and one of the most purely enjoyable American independent films of all time. Number 2. 12th Fail. This one comes from India, and it's widely considered one of the most inspiring stories ever put on screen.
टूटे हुए तारों से फूटे बासंती स्वर पत्थर की छाती में उग आया नव अंक.
A boy from a poverty-stricken village in India fails his exams, not from lack of effort, but because the local system runs on cheating, he refuses to participate in. That single failure should have ended his future entirely, Instead, it starts one of the most genuinely inspiring true stories ever put on screen. Based on the real-life story of an IPS officer, the film follows years of grinding, specific hardship, working multiple menial jobs, sleeping in shared rooms, failing one of the most competitive exams on Earth again and again, building toward a single, hard-won moment of triumph that the film has earned through pure, accumulated struggle. Vikrant Massey gives an extraordinary, deeply committed performance as Manoj, never softening the poverty or the repeated failure for easy sentiment. Medha Shankar plays Shraddha, a fellow aspirant whose own quiet strength becomes essential to Manoj's eventual success. Directed by Vidhu Vinod Chopra, this became a genuine sleeper hit, precisely because audiences recognized something true in it, that persistence, not talent, is often the entire difference between failure and a completely different life. The final 20 minutes will leave you in tears, good ones. If you've never seen an Indian film before, this is exactly the one to start with. It became a genuine word-of-mouth phenomenon in India for a reason. Number 1. Green Book. Let me start here, because I genuinely think this is the film most people on this list have talked themselves out of watching for the wrong reasons.
How does he smile and shake their hands like that?
Because it takes courage to change people's hearts.
A brilliant black classical pianist hires a rough, prejudiced Italian-American bouncer to drive him through the segregated Deep South in 1962. And somewhere across that tour, both men get quietly, permanently rearranged by each other. Mahershala Ali plays Don Shirley with a controlled, dignified loneliness. A genius who has been carefully, deliberately excluded from both white society and, in different ways, from full belonging within black communities too. Viggo Mortensen plays Tony Lip, and his transformation across the film's runtime from casual, unthinking prejudice to genuine, protective loyalty never once happens in one convenient scene. It accumulates, mile by mile, dinner by dinner, exactly the way real change actually tends to happen. Based on a true story and the real friendship it depicts, Green Book won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And somehow, despite that recognition, still gets treated by a lot of people as some kind of guilty pleasure, rather than what it actually is. 2 extraordinary performances, patient direction, and a genuinely moving argument about what it takes to actually see another person clearly. This is the best film on this entire list. Funny, warm, quietly devastating, and one of the most purely enjoyable friendships ever put on screen. That's the end of today's list. 15 feel-good films, and every single one earns the title. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these have you already watched, and which one are you starting tonight? And out of everything on this list, which film do you think deserves way more recognition than it's actually gotten? Also, how did you like this video? Your feedback genuinely helps me make better recommendations and create videos you'll enjoy even more. And if you enjoy the video, do like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.